Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Duc Vuong. Here's my residency diploma from graduating residency in 2005. I'm a surgeon, bariatric surgeon. Today, I am going to talk about this South African variant. There's not much in the news about it, and you guys are really hearing it kind of first here, okay? So viruses mutate. What actually mutates is the genetic material. All right. So you have a family of viruses. That's the family. Coronavirus is the fucked up family. Inside that family, you have strains of viruses, strains of the coronavirus that causes disease. It has to cause a specific disease to be called a strain. So this strain is SARS-CoV-2. It causes COVID-19. There's another strain. It's nasty cousin, SARS-CoV-1, which causes like SARS, which is the first one. And then there's a strain that causes like MERS, the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. All right. So in the family, there are strains. The strain we're talking about is SARS-CoV-2. We say coronavirus for short because that's kind of the pandemic right now, but technically it's SARS-CoV-2. And then each one of these strains can mutate because the genetic material mutates and they develop variants. There have been thousands of mutations. So this one SARS-CoV-2 has over 15,000 different mutations. So don't panic about the mutations. Most mutations don't mean shit. Nothing happens. They don't end up being anything. But when a particular mutation causes a change in the protein, in this case tonight we're going to be talking about the spike protein, when it causes a change in the protein and that change has an effect, it becomes a variant, okay? And it lasts. So it might not lead to any sort of different clinical outcomes. That's TBD, to be determined. But the UK variant and now the South African variant seem to be lasting and propagating and causing problems. Okay, so we're going to talk about a little bit about their transmissibility, right? So both of these variants, the UK variant and the South African variant, first of all, they're only named that because that's where they were first identified. Now, it's very possible. It is very possible that like the UK variant started in the United States and somebody went from the United States to London and spread it over there. And because UK does more genomic testing on the coronavirus, they test about 10% of their cases. They just happen to discover it there. Kind of shitty for them, but that's just the way it is. But if you look at what's happening with UK right now, per capita, they actually are higher than the United States. So even though fucking Americans were at 200,000 cases a day, UK is about 60,000 cases a day. Per capita, they are much higher. They are higher than the United States. So they just, rightfully so, enacted a very strict nationwide lockdown till mid-February, which might be extended because of what's happening with this UK variant. All right. So what I want to do is a couple. I hope you guys are finding this interesting. But a couple of things I want to say is number one, I'm going to do a couple predictions real quick for you guys. So right now, the UK variant is less than 1% that we're aware of, less than 1% of the cases in the world. And by March, I think the UK variant will become the dominant variant in the United States. It'll be the dominant coronavirus. When we talk about coronavirus in the United States in March, I'm going on record, bitches, in March, we will be talking about this UK variant. It'll be the dominant one. Why? We've identified it in 4 states already. Colorado was first, California, Florida, yesterday, New York. Which means it's everywhere. Okay, so we in the United States don't do the testing that UK does. If we had tested it more often, then we're more likely to find it. But it will become the dominant variant in the United States. It doesn't seem to show any worse outcomes. It doesn't kill you more. It's not more virulent. It's not worse illness. In fact, I talked about that in my video about the UK variant, which is that viruses, the more transmissible they become, usually the less lethal they are, because they're trying what well, I shouldn't say that, because viruses aren't alive, so they don't actually try to do anything. It's all, this is what's really fucking cool about viruses. It's just all random chance. It is basically a piece of DNA, either DNA or RNA, wrapped in a fat droplet and floats around the air and has replication machinery built into that. It just so happened that little piece of genetic material has the replication machinery built inside of it, or some form of it, that allows it to replicate. It's bizarre. It's not technically alive, which is bizarre. So put a 1 in the comment section if that was kind of like eye-opening to you guys. Like, if you're like, what? Viruses aren't alive? They're not bacteria. Bacteria is alive, but viruses are not alive, not technically living. So they don't try to do anything. They don't try to kill you. They don't try to mutate. They don't try to survive. So put a 1 in the comment section if that is surprising to you guys. That's awesome. Because the idea is that it's just all purely random chance. It's pretty fucking crazy, right? So a lot of 1s coming in there. That's awesome. I'm glad to bring you some fun discussion. So there was this paper in Caprissa, the Center for the AIDS Program of Research in South Africa, from a professor, Salim Abdul. And this is December 18th, guys. So this is, 4 weeks ago, basically. And he's talking about the second wave of COVID cases. I hope y'all can see my marker here. COVID cases going up here. And we know now that it's much higher, all right? So even since... last time I checked, South Africa had like 14,000 cases yesterday. 14,000. But what I want you to see is this right here. Look at this second wave. Here's the first wave, comes up and goes down. Well, they are way past that first first wave now. And this is December 18th. So we are in a lot of trouble. Okay. And you can see right here, the second wave, it is taking off like a skyrocket compared to this first wave. Very frightening. This is what we're seeing in Africa. The UK variant we know a lot about because it's been around a lot longer. South Africa is a little bit more isolated, so you can see these numbers in cases going up. That's really bad. Okay, so it appears. This is what I said. Viruses evolved to become more transmissible and less severe because they need to come to a balance with a host. They can't kill off their host. All right. Second wave now in all provinces with some early signs of it spreading faster than the first wave. This is December 18th. All right. Now, okay. So here's the thing about this variant. It is called the 501.V2 variant. And it has 3 mutations. This is the stuff that's really scary. This is why I'm saying you need to pay attention. The 3 mutations are at location 417, 484, and 501. A K to N, E to K, and N to Y. And we talked about the N501Y with the UK variant, okay? Now we're going to talk about this, so pay attention to this. This could be associated with a higher viral load. This is not good. All right. What should we do? Basically says we don't know. All right. That is an actual paper and project from a doctor in South Africa explaining the variant. Who remembers how many mutations did the UK variant have in the binding area, in the spike protein binding area? The UK variant had 1. Okay. This South African variant has 3 mutations in the binding area. Remember the carnations I did? There was one binding area, one area that just hit the receptor that made it more stickier to the ACE2 receptor. Well, this South African variant has 3. It has other mutations also. It has more mutations, but the mutations that matter, I'm talking about the mutations that matter, is actually in the binding area. This is not good. All right. Yeah, exactly. So I want to share back my screen. Okay. I want to go back to my favorite website for viruses. Who remembers my favorite website for viruses? That's right. We're going back to GizAid. So, swear to God, it's called GIZAID. Okay, so right here, GIZAID. It's the global initiative for sharing avian influenza database. So I looked it up. I remembered. Okay, so here the researchers uploaded the information on this variant 501Y V2. Okay, triple spike receptor binding site substitutions. That's not good. Okay. Today, what I was talking about, that the SARS-CoV-2 has gone over has 15,000 mutations. In South Africa alone, it has 2,730 mutations. This one is called 501Y.V2. All right. And the three mutations in the spike receptor binding site, K4017N, E484K, and N501Y. Okay. Now, if we look down, these are all the different mutations. Remember, we saw the gray, the mutations here. It's listed here at the bottom. But the gold ones are the ones that we were really concerned about. And remember, the spike protein is a trimer. There's actually, it's one protein, three copies of one protein that have wrapped around each other, right? I had 3 carnations wrapped together. Okay. Now, if you remember the UK variant, there was one change on the end. Okay, one of these N501Ys. Now, if we scroll over, let me blow this up to this side right here. We're looking at the spike protein. This part down here is the spike protein from the side. This green wavy line right here, y'all see that? That green wavy line is the ACE2 receptor. That is the binding cell, the receptor in the lungs where it attacks. Now, I had this question after my last video. We have ACE2 receptors in other places of our body, like our blood vessels, for example, other than just the lungs, okay? But they're predominant in the lungs. And so it binds here. Now, look at this son of a bitch. This South African son of a bitch not only has the N501Y, this is of the UK variant. This is it here. Motherfucker also has a substitution at 484, E484K here, and K417N here. So it's got 3 binding mutations, guys. 3 binding mutations. Okay? This is problematic. Now, before you lose your shizzle, don't lose your crap just yet. But we don't know yet if this will lead to a difference in the clinical course. The only thing that really matters with these mutations is, does it affect the host? Like, what's it going to do? Okay. With these 3 new mutations in the binding regions, it has more affinity to binding. All right. This picture here is the entire spike protein. All right. Now, this region right here is called the RBD, receptor binding domain. This is the actual domain. And that mutation area is called an RBM, receptor binding motif. So this huge area here is the RBD, receptor binding domain. And the actual little changes right here, the place where they're changed, is called the receptor binding motif, RBM. Okay. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So what's actually changing is the receptor binding motif. Now, that is really screwed up. And let me explain this in a way that hopefully will help you understand it a little bit better. So I went into my toolbox. I'm currently about to move. So I pulled out my ratchet set, right? So imagine this is the spike protein. All right. And technically speaking, there would be 3 of these wrenches. All right. These are called socket wrenches, by the way. All right. And there would be 3 of them kind of together. That would make the spike protein. I didn't have 3 socket wrenches. I only had 1. Okay. Now, this would be the RBD, receptor binding domain. This little socket itself is the receptor binding domain. Okay. Now, if you look inside there, let me see. You see how they're like these little these little grabby bits? You see that? Because that's how it grabs the bolt. Okay. Each one of those little grabby bits, you could consider that as the RBM, receptor binding motif. So these little binding the motifs inside here that have mutated. Okay, so pretend like this is your lung cell, this is your ACE2 inhibitor, and here comes the coronavirus, right? Dr. Visa coronavirus. Here I come. I show you my spike protein, right? And blink. Oh, son of a bitch. See? Like that. And, oh, I like you. I like you. And because I've made changes to this internal side, I've mutated, I've changed this RBM inside. It fits better. Oh shit. And now that virus hooks into and gets into the cell more efficiently. Was that helpful? Give it up for my sockets, everybody. Woohoo! Maybe I'll go back to school, become a science teacher. I don't know. All right. So hopefully that will help you understand what we're talking about when we're talking about spike protein mutations and things like that. Hopefully that was helpful. Was helpful, TW? Uncle Billy, pay attention. Wake up, Uncle Billy. Yes, yes. See, awesome. Good. Well done. Awesome. Thank you. Exactly. Dr. Socket. Awesome. Okay. So, yay for the sockets. Yay. Okay. So check out my coffee mug. This is actually green tea. But see, Bob Ross, it's black. And the picture reveals when you put in hot liquid. So I'll pour in some hot tea here in a second. Okay. Now, why is this important? Because if you're watching the news, hopefully you're not watching the news, they throw out words like mutations and strains, and people use the word strains wrong and variants wrong. But now since you watch Dr. V, you're smarter than average, right? You're smarter than the average viewer. So you kind of really understand the mutation in the South African variant is in the RBMs, receptor binding motifs. Here is the concern that I'm really worried about, okay? I'm really worried about. Did I get it? Oh, I got it. The more efficient a virus can bind to its host cell, it gets into the cell faster. It's less likely to get knocked off. Remember, things are floating around in there, right? Because, for example, in your lungs, you breathe in, I breathe out. That virus is having to struggle against that current. And it's a strong current because it's small tubes, small airways. It has to be. It's like a bellows. For you guys up north with a chimney, right? You try to start the fireplace. And that little device I should bring my bellows. The tip of the bellows, is it big or is it small? No, it's small, right? But the body of the bellows is big. So you pull it open. There's a bunch of air in there and you push down. Oh, I spat all over my laptop. And the air goes out a very fine point. And you think it's only to direct the air, but that circumference of the opening of the bellows makes that air much more forceful. So viruses and stuff inside is this interesting? The viruses inside of our lungs, they're trying to hold on when you're breathing they have to get from your airways into your bloodstream, into your pneumocytes, stuff like that. Anyway. So you get the idea. So they have to hold on. So the more that they can hold on to the cell, the better the chance that they can get into the cell before they're detected. I'm going to talk about vaccine. I should talk about vaccines tomorrow because this is important. Because people are getting nervous about antibody response. We need y'all to take the fucking vaccines. All right. Don't be fucking John Wayne. If your number is called, it's time for you to man up, Uncle Billy. Go take your fucking vaccine. All right. And don't give me your bullshit about it's been rushed. You couldn't even stay awake during like basic life sciences in 8th grade. and now you suddenly become a vaccine expert. Vaccine was rushed. It was not fucking rushed. Okay, delivery was rushed, was shortcutted. You know, the fundraising part, the monetary part was shortcutted. Okay, I don't know if that's a word, but I forgot what I was gonna fucking say. Okay, so so the virus can get inside the cell, escape detection, and then replicate. And now, if you're making more and more copies, you could get out and actually be in this airway here. And it's possible that you'll cough or sneeze a larger amount of virus. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And it might be that that's the actual way that it leads to transmission, is because it's a larger viral load, because the virus itself has escaped detection, because it's more efficient in binding, gets into the cells faster, and causes its damage faster. And remember, the cells die and they explode, and the little baby viruses, my little baby viruses, we're free, let us go, let's go wreak some havoc. And there's thousands, like millions of these little fuckers. Right? So this is problematic. Now, having said this, I will say that to date, we don't know that it has any worse outcome. We do not think, the scientists, the people who are studying it, do not think the South African virus has any more lethality, no more illness. It's just that it seems to be transmissible. Now, what's the problem? Now, what's the evidence for this, right? The only way to really know if it's more transmissible is to actually swab a bunch of people's noses and grow the virus in a test plate, and to see if you get more virus than a regular strain. See, I fucked up the term, a regular variant. Okay. So, but if you look at what happened in South Africa, you know, you guys got hot back in June. You squashed it down. You went from 10,000 cases a day. You went back down to 500 cases a day. And then what happened? Like the numbers started creeping up. Like, you guys reflected what happened in Europe when Europe was starting their second wave in October. You guys South Africans started coming up too, right? So there's this idea that, okay, there might be something into this South African variant. And in fact, the people in South Africa believe that the vast majority of the coronavirus cases in South Africa are due to this new variant. So you kind of correlate the two, our cases, and I showed you the graphs at the beginning where the numbers were way higher. That means there must be some correlation to the transmissibility. So you're kind of deducing it. It's not really hard science. You're kind of deducing that. Same thing happened with UK, right? So this UK variant was discovered there in September and really started being studied in early December 1, technically. And their cases, even though they did a kind of a spot hard lockdown, they tried to copy the American model. Way to go, Boris! Copy the Americans. And they initially went down, and then suddenly they, like, you guys remember this? Like, they were going down, all of Europe was going down, and then suddenly, for some reason, UK was like, took a left turn, like a detour. Woo! Skyrocketed. And they're like, oh, we got this UK variant now. And then this UK variant, they think, makes up about 60. I mean, it's probably more than this. So last week, they were saying it's 60% of the cases in UK is now this variant. So I'm telling you that in America, by March, the UK variant will be the predominant strain. I did it again. The predominant SARS-CoV-2 in America by March. Right now it's not, but it will be, okay? Because of this transmissibility. Well, what about the South African one? You just got done telling us that, you know, there's 3 mutations and yada, yada, yada. Well, we haven't really found it in South Africa. In America. The UK one we know is in America, is in over 30 countries. The this South African variant, now that they're looking for it, it's in UK, and in, you know, God bless y'all, I love y'all. It's in the Australians. It's in Australia, and I think they found it in Japan. Can someone confirm that for me? I think it's in Japan, this South African variant. I know the UK variant is, but I think the South African variant is also in Japan. So it's not, the South African variant has not been found in as many countries. In other words, the UK variant has a head start. Has a head start on its big brother. So the question that everyone's concerned about is this: will the vaccines work on these two variants, the UK and the South African? And the answer is TBD, to be determined. Now, the UK variant, they are almost sure that the vaccines will work on the UK variant. They are almost sure, right? The South African variant, TBD, to be determined. They are not 100% sure. They don't exactly know. They think most likely, but to be determined. They have to do a few more studies on it. Good news. Here comes the cavalry. Because in the past, it would have taken years to develop these sort of vaccines, all right? But with this new technology and the new science and the new, you know, computers processing that we have now, we can tweak these vaccines. They can make small changes to the vaccine and the manufacturing process. To now you're playing defense. You're waiting to see what mutations happen. You know what the virus does. So then you're always on defense. But the scientists can tweak the vaccines, and ultimately science will win. Does that make sense? So I don't want you to panic about these variants. They don't seem to cause more lethal. They're not more lethal. They don't seem to cause any worse disease. And the vaccines seem to work on them. And number four is we can tweak the vaccines if we need to. We don't want to, but we can. But number 7, I'm going to end it with number 7, because number 7 is really the most important thing. So let me ask you this question. You know, what causes mutations? Well, the virus trying to survive. No, I already told y'all, the viruses aren't alive. They're not living. So they're not trying to do shit. What causes mutations is just chance. It's an error in replication. So every time the virus replicates, makes a copy itself, there's an error in the machine that makes a copy. It's like a Xerox machine. Have you ever used a Xerox machine and you keep copying the same over and over again, the original, and by the, you know, you've done it 500 times, the 500th one starts to have like little specks on it, and you're like, what? You know, it's not as crisp. Okay. So, all right. So the things that cause mutation is random replication, random errors during replication, which means what? The more viruses you have replicating, the more chance that's going to mutate. And this is number 7, why you're watching. No one's telling you this shit except for Dr. V, because this is the truth. This is what's really important. We have to get the case numbers down, motherfuckers. This is ridiculous. It's not fucking funny. It's not a joke. It's not a hoax, right? The more virus, think about, Uncle Billy, pay attention. The more viruses you have floating out here, they're all fucking making copies of themselves. And the more of them that you have making copies, the more likely they are going to have errors. Ergo, the more likely they're going to mutate into worse and worse strains that cause problems, that evades our vaccines. Maybe you'll get one that is more lethal. Maybe you'll get one that is super highly transmissible. Maybe you'll get, I don't know, a 6-foot virus. Who fucking knows? Does that make sense? I'll do it again. You got a shit ton of viruses out here mutating like this. What are the chances that it's, replicating? What are the chances they're going to mutate? Very high. But if you got a couple of motherfuckers and they're trying to survive, because you stayed at home. You didn't gather for New Year's. You didn't go visit your family. You stayed your ass at home, and the numbers are coming down. You have fewer viruses out there replicating themselves. You have lower chances of forming new mutations. Does that make sense? Okay. That's really the take-home message, guys. For everybody who thinks like this is a hoax or I'm a fearmonger or whatever, get the fuck off my channel, first of all. I mean, can you put a yes in the comment section for me if this has been helpful? Can you tag somebody who needs to understand this? Can you tag somebody and be like, dude, he's on point. This is great. It makes total sense, right? Jocelyn says it makes sense, right? Come on. Jim, Cheryl, yes. Yeses are rolling in. Awesome. So many yeses. See, that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I can explain shit. Now, I'm not here to just fucking do lives to get attention. I'm trying to add to the conversation. So if you feel like I add to the conversation, thank you. All right, check it out. So my Bob Ross mug. All right. This is like the fucking virus. This is my Bob Ross mug. Okay? It's black because we didn't turn on the fucking lights. All right? If you don't turn on the fucking lights, Dr. V, you don't have viruses. If you don't test, you don't have viruses. If you don't turn on the lights, you don't have cockroaches, Dr. V. Don't you know? That's how we think around here. So what I'm going to do is check this shit out. This is going to be cool. All right. I got my hot tea. This is hot tea in here. So I'm trying not to burn myself. Check this shit out. Dump this hot tea into my Bob Ross mug. Now look. Look at the background, y'all. This is testing. You need more testing. We need more genomic testing. Look at that. Now it reveals the background. You can fucking live in darkness if you want, motherfucker. But it's better if you face the fucking facts. There's a shit ton of viruses out there. COVID is killing people. You ignoring it doesn't mean it's gone. It's there the whole fucking time. It's there. Turn on the lights. You got cockroaches, man. Take the pregnancy test. You're pregnant. Go see a doctor, Uncle Billy. You got chlamydia. You're giving everybody in the church choir chlamydia. Ignoring it isn't going to make the drippy dick stop. Drippy dick. God damn it. See, I was good up until that point, right? Come on, give it up for Dr. V. I was good up until that point. But does that make sense? This is what happens. This is what, like, this is we can we slow down the testing, please? I told my people, can we please slow down the testing? What the you got a laugh out of that, dude. You did that for a laugh, and 350,000 Americans have died. Give me a fucking break, right? If Hillary Clinton had said it, I'd be sitting here yelling the same fucking thing. So it doesn't matter the politics. Everybody understand? Doesn't matter the politics. It matters like where the fuck it came from, right? It's wrong, guys. We have to test more. We need to stay home. I wish this coffee mug had like a bunch of like fucking zombies on the back or some shit. Like, there's fucking zombies out there. Then you would know. All right. I've had enough fun. This is a socket wrench talk. The Bob Ross mug talk. The drippy dick talk.